Thanks for joining us again with our interview with Father Gawargious Kolta and Abuna. We wanted to switch to another topic.
Yeah.
Actually, there's one topic that I know you are an expert on, which is the Shroud of Turin. And I know that many members of the congregation remember you when you were in Egypt and going to many churches and describing and speaking about the Shroud of Turin. Can you tell us how you became intrigued by this topic and what is its significance?
I heard about the research that was done on the Shroud when I was in UK. I was 3 years there in UK, and the TV, and they said, oh, nonsense. The burial cloth of the Lord, 2,000 years, still saying nonsense. And then I heard the research, people from great scientists, all the fields, anatomy, physiology, dyes, pigments, forensic medicine, in all the fields, X-ray, spectroscopy. And then I bought the book written by Ian Wilson. I read it. It was great, great. And then I tried from that time to collect all the researches done on the shrouds. Actually, if you read what they did, they spent 150 hours on the shrouds, studying the shrouds. And the Lord make the Catholic Church agree to make research on the shroud. They asked several times when the equipments, the great equipment, sophisticated equipments, and they used the technique very, very high. God prepared the time. And when I read I have all the researches done. I have about making 30 publications about and books. Actually, every time I read, I still think how the burial cross of our religion is still, and it carries the image of Christ. When I published a book in 1981, but when I came here, I met the two, one of the two professors, John Jackson and Eric. They are professors in the Marine. I was praying a liturgy in a church in the north, and there was Dr. Kamel. He's on my congregation in Egypt, and I spoke about the shroud. He said, "Oh, Dr. John Jackson is just 2 blocks from me. He's my friend. Please call him." And he came in and asked him, "I want to tell you something. How the image was printed in the shrouds, the image of Christ. How?" And he told me, asked me, from scientific point of view or from religious point of view, both. He said, from scientific, impossible. There is no sign of anything that the image is printed in the shroud. No, nothing at all. How did it work? And all the researchers, they don't know how the image was on the crowd. And proper image for a man who was crucified. There are no paints, no dyes, and the picture is negative. Photography started in the 18th century, last 18th century, in 1980 something. no one know how to draw a negative. The black, white, and white, black, and so on. It is negative. And there is no scientific phenomena that you can see this. From a religious point of view, I believe, and I'm a good believer, that when the Lord, during the resurrection, there is some rays, unknown rays, came out of his body and printed. Because the image is 3 filaments. It's known for the back. The shroud, 0.3 millimeters. And in the back, no pictures, nothing. No image. And the image, perfect man. And everything in this shroud, for a man who suffered crucifixion, everything. And actually, the group who observed and made research on it, they spent many hours by new techniques, and didn't know how this image was formed in the shroud. All the researches, I bought books and publications at home, and even I bought a copy from it with the same size. I use it when anybody asks me, tell you about the shroud, I just open it, and the people see everything about Jesus Christ. 1885, a man make a picture, and they found that it is negative. And he cried, I am the first one to saw the face of Christ. And that's why I consider that research that was done on it is actually in the proper time, because they used very sophisticated equipments. There's a group called STERB. STERB means Shroud of Turin Project. And after this study, there are about 20 professors in different fields, in hematology, anatomy, physiology, textile, dyes, microscopy, photography, X-ray, radiology, forensic medicine, infrared thermography, X-ray, fluorescence, different fields. And they said, we can conclude that the shroud image is that of a real human who was scourged and crucified. It is not production of artists. The blood stains are composed of hemoglobin and give a positive test of serum albumin. And it is AB. AB. And they didn't know the DNA, because DNA, that there's something before, they didn't know the DNA. But actually, I felt that it is a miracle that the burial process of our Lord Jesus Christ is still exists. Still exists.
We're back again for our great conversation with Abuna Gawargious Kolta. I know, Abuna, recently there has been doubts around the authenticity of the shroud, and you published a second book.
Yes.
Yeah, could you tell us some of the new details?
There are many theories attacked the shroud. One of them is called the coma theory, that he was in coma. Other ones, Dr. McGowan said that a forger did it. Others said that the vapors came out of him, make the image. All this was wrong, of course. But there is a professor of anatomy in UCLA make a book, The Passion of Our Lord Jesus Christ. showing by evidence that the shroud is Christ. If you look to the picture, you found that is like this. Where this one? He brought a newly dead man, took his head, and put the nail here to see if the bones are broken or not. There are two rows. There is stout cavity. And who put the nail, the thing came, median nerve here, touched, and that's a picture you have for the evidence. And the nail was here, not here. Because if it is here, it will be torn. And many evidences, I'm going to tell you the number of evidence that they have. The image of the shroud is superficial, with only 3 filaments depths. The density of the yellowish color of the image is homogeneous. There is no capillary action of the image of the shroud. There is no pigments or colorless dyes in the shroud filaments. The man of the shroud did handiwork, as the right shoulder is lower than the left shoulder. He was a carpenter. The man of the shroud had a beard. That means he's Jewish. The left cheek is swallowed when they slapped him on his face. The homogeneity on both the front and the back, front and back, when they put the Lord like this and then come it, and that's why the front and back, they are exactly the same. There is a deep wound from in front of here because they slapped him in the face. The 2 hands has a deep hole in the wrist, not in the joint, not in the on the wrist, in the palm, not in the wrist, and the 2 legs were not broken. As mentioned in the Bible. The right side of the body, there is a hole, the spear. The whole back of the body has wounds. The slashes, it is 39/3. You can 3. Because they use 3 rod with 3 cords and ends by dumbbell, and that's why they counted, and they found that 39/3, and there are wounds, scratches on the upper part of his, because he carried the cross. It was the cross is 80 pounds, and was scratching on his back, friction of the cross. The belly is swallowed because we hang it, and when we are hanged, the water goes to the belly, and the blood flowing from the right side from a spear. There is smell of vinegar. They gave him vinegar when he was on the cross. There powders of lime similar to that in the graves of Jerusalem. There are pollen grains of plants that only present either in Palestine, Greece, and France, and so on. And there is a man called Max Fry, professor from Switzerland, from French medicine. He made the trip of the shroud from Jerusalem to Italy, how it goes through the pollen grains. He studied 5 years on the pollen grains of plants only present in these countries, Israel, Turkey, France, Italy, and so on. The measure of shroud is Syrian measure, 1/4 cubits. There are some powder of myrrh and oil in the embalming his body. The man of shroud was 5 yards and 11 inch, and the granite table when the Lord, it was the same size. The blood flow was coming from the wrist on the two hands proves that he was hanged. The blood he was hanged on the cross. There are holes in the whole skull. This is not a ring. It was a cap of thorns and not a ring. And this is not applied in a crucified person. The linen cloth was very expensive and it costs cotton. That means that shroud was made in Egypt. Because in that time, Egypt, the one who was cultivating cotton. All the crucified people are hanged with robes. But here, this man was hanged by nails. It's only for Jesus. As usually they use in robes. There is no fermentation. He stayed 30 years in the grave, but no fermentation. The body was not washed because it was too late. The Sabbath came. They carried very fast to bury him before the Sabbath. And that was, as usual, the Jews do. They wash their bodies before they bury them. There was not enough time. The image of the shroud, photography negative. And the art of photography was invented only by the end of the 19th century. Recently, the hemorrhagists found that the blood flowing from the right side of the man is different from that came from here, different. One is oxygenated blood, is here, the other non-oxygenated. The spear went to the vena cava, where only in this place blood is under pressure. All this proved that this shroud is for Jesus Christ. There are other people make carbon-14 dating. And they found that it is for the year 1280 or 1390 from this age. But they did mistakes. They took small parts from the lining. The shroud was subjected to fire in was a box in the Chambry Church, and there are silver drops, molten drops, make holes. Because the shroud was wrapped 4 layers, they make 16 holes. And the nuns in France, they covered the holes and made lining. They took from the lining. And that's why there's something composed of vanillin. Vanillin is present in the lining, but shroud 0%. At the same time, the cloth was soaked with water that quenches the box which is on fire. That means there is free carbon. And that's why all the tests was wrong. And two professors took pieces from the shroud and tried to find for the 1st century. I have their publication.
Yeah. Just to clarify something, Abuna, you were saying there was no fermentation because he was in the grave for 3 days.
Yes.
Yes, okay. I think, just wanted to clarify the number of days. Yeah. Abuna, thank you for teaching us about your research around the Shroud of Turin, and then we'll return to some more questions. Thanks, Abuna.
Welcome.
Thank you for joining us.